I almost quit music a year and a half ago. Don't worry, I didn't. I'm here. Literally about to play a piano. Open your eyes. I just, a lot of things have changed in my life, and from the moment I've gotten married and moving here. And the funny thing happened during the pandemic, which was my kids, who were really little, grew up just a little bit more. They gained just enough words to talk about what it feels like for them when I leave. And I watched my son hit an almost inside the park home run for the first time when he was playing baseball. And I realized, I understood why baseball was American sport. I never really got it. I grew up in Canada. But as a dad, watching your son just crank on a ball and run, and you're just yelling, go, 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 and just that tradition, I was like, oh man. And I found myself more and more just going, I don't know, and a lot of it was just, who knows what's going to happen in the world. Until I just thought, well, I guess I got to reinvent myself at 46. I'm sure many of you were thinking the same thing. And as an artist, trying to continue to put stuff out into the world, which, by the way, this is Frankie Orelic. We just thank her for singing with me tonight. Amazing singer-songwriter. You can find her music. She's got a lot of great music online. But a lot of artists, I missed this. I didn't have this. And I tried sitting in front of a camera and singing, but no one would laugh at my jokes. It's really hard to tell a joke when there's just nothing after, just dead silence. You can only find that funny so many times. And then you really start to question your sanity. I felt isolated. Well, I think everyone felt isolated in a way. And I think in that isolation, because I'm a songwriter, I realized I can have a propensity to use that for good, to use my powers for good, or sometimes even use them against me. And so what I mean by that is that the same creativity that can come up with lyrics and melodies can also come up with really inventive stories about what the rest of the world thinks about you, or doesn't think about you. And when you're stuck at home in the middle of a pandemic and your only outlet to the outside world is some crazy social media app, and you put something on it and all of a sudden you have no idea what anyone thinks about it, it just becomes very isolating. And so I realized something about myself. I kind of had to go 12 rounds with God about it. But the thing that I clung to was when I was in my mid-20s, right before I wrote Your Grace Is Enough, I was going to a Bible study. And I heard these stories. Because I went to a Bible study where the teacher taught English to Messianic Jews in Israel for a couple of years. And so he learned all about the narrative stories of the scripture, how the scriptures are rooted in geography, history, culture. All of it's there. You just got to find it. And so I learned about God appearing to a man named Abraham and promising him that he was going to have kids even though he was well beyond, and his wife was well beyond the age of being able to have kids. I learned about God wrestling with a guy named Jacob. I learned about changing people's names. And those stories I remembered, even in the midst of trying to figure out what mine was and trying to not listen to the ones that I create. But I think we all do this. So I haven't sung this song a lot yet because I'm still trying to figure out how to sing it and not get too emotional. But it probably means the most to me. So this song's called The Stories I Tell Myself. Never faced a battle that he couldn't win. And all you ever wanted was to be like him. But he drank his way through your teenage years, Now you're stuck with the bill for your father's sins. These are the stories I tell myself. This town has a ceiling that you'll never break through. You'll always be alone in a crowded room. And no matter how hard it's work, it's true. You'll never be enough just being you. These are the stories I tell myself. But when I think of Abraham, counting the stars up in the sky. When I think of Jacob, fighting an angel for his life. When I think of Joshua, walking around the walls until they fell. These are the stories I tell myself. These are the stories I tell my children. There are lessons that I cannot teach. There's always gonna be something out of reach. But by the grace of God you remember well. These are the stories you'll tell. When I think of Abraham, counting the stars up in the sky. When I think of Jacob, fighting an angel for his life. When I think of Joshua, walking around the walls until they fell. These are the stories I tell myself. These are the stories I tell. These are the stories I tell myself. These are the stories I tell. And when I think about Jesus, oh, when I think about Jesus, he never faced a battle that he couldn't win. And all I ever needed I have found in him. And he made his way through the wilderness, from glory to glory. He is my story. When I think of Abraham, counting the stars up in the sky. When I think of Jacob, fighting an angel for his life. When I think of Joshua, walking around the walls until they fell. If they went before me, these are the stories. I think of Noah, looking for a sign after the rain. When I think about Moses, speaking for the powerless in faith. When I think about Joseph, dreaming at the bottom of a well. These are the stories I tell myself. These are the stories I tell. These are the stories I tell myself. These are the stories I tell myself. It's where you are.